Hi and welcome. 4 years ago, on the 16th of December, I had my very last drink at a Christmas party. I had finally had enough of my drinking habits and decided to take a month without drinking, a break from my troublesome habits of drinking way too much and being the drunkest person at every party. After have been partying in the way that I had for about 20 years, this was not an easy task. I had actually had a break from alcohol for about 2 years or so when I first was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and was instructed to not touch alcohol since that could make it worse. And I definitely used alcohol to self-medicate. I managed to stop, but I also stopped socializing and kept mostly to myself to avoid parties. At that point in life, I only hung out with friends at bars or home parties, and most people were drinking, and I drank the most. That was the way I spent time with friends. It was almost always alcohol included. My social skills were tightly connected to beer and shots. But that first year, I avoided alcohol, though not seeing any special benefits since I was also in a depression and on sick leave from work. I was mostly watching TV and eating chocolate. Then I got a few pet rats and got to know other rat owners and was included in that special little community. I got a new friend whom I could hang out with without any alcohol involved, and rats was both our special interests in which we bonded. I was in depression, mania and psychosis for most of the time since I hadn't got the right diagnosis and treatment yet. After 2 years, my rats had all become old and died, and I had slowly lost contact with the rat community. Then an old friend of mine came to visit Sweden, and I decided to try a bit of alcohol again so that I would be relaxed when hanging out with a bunch of people. And it was like magic. Suddenly I had lots of friends and was out partying every weekend, getting extremely drunk and having a blast. But the day after, the anxiety was always horrendous. What had I done? What had I said? I felt ashamed and like I'd never ever want to drink again. Until the next weekend, and the weekend after that, and sometimes in the middle of the week if I was going to a concert. My life was centered around partying, and I have no idea how much money I spent on alcohol during those years, not to mention how detrimental it was to my mental and physical well-being. Time passed on and I met my partner. A couple of years after we met, we decided to try for a baby, and my values slowly changed during those first months after the decision to get a family. I realized my drinking was a problem and tried to cut down. But on that Christmas party that I mentioned was when it really hit home. The next day I was anxious and embarrassed and decided to take a month's break from drinking, even if the timing was hard right before Christmas and New Year's Eve, when I would normally at least have some glögg and beer. And New Year's was always a big party night with friends with immense amounts of alcohol. But I had decided I was going to have a month completely free from alcohol for my health and because I really wanted to have a child and become a responsible mom. My future child would never ever see me drunk, that I was certain about. And Christmas came and went with no problem. New Year's Eve was really hard. We were going to a party where everyone was drinking and having fun, and I struggled so bad. But I made it to midnight and stayed maybe half an hour more until I'd had enough and we went home when everyone else continued to party for the rest of the night. But I simply could not take it anymore, not without drinking myself. And I thought about our future baby and kept my word to myself. The new year came and I felt strongly about never drinking again and was comfortable with the decision. I stopped going out and slowly lost contact with a lot of my friends since I avoided situations with alcohol. I managed to go to a few concerts without a sip of alcohol, but I found it really hard to stay more than a couple of hours, and then my mind would be overwhelmed of all of the impressions which earlier alcohol had numbed and taken care of. My social skills were tightly connected to beer and booze, and without the aid of alcohol I was no longer comfortable with talking to people. I was way more quiet and didn't know what to say. So I only spent time with a few friends at a few occasions, and then COVID happened, and we isolated ourselves almost completely. I felt wonderful in my new sober life. My anxiety almost completely vanished. At this point, I also worked from home full time, which had its benefits for my mental health. And then I finally became a mom to a wonderful little boy who makes my life so rich and happy. I can miss certain types of alcohol sometimes, the kind that don't have a good non-alcoholic equivalent, or at least not to my taste. I miss the taste of glögg, mead and red wine. But it's so worth it, so I don't have a problem sticking with non-alcoholic beer, sodas, lemonade, coffee and hot chocolate. I also miss my friends, especially now since we've moved from Stockholm far up north. I'm slowly learning how to be social without alcohol, and it has become much easier. I've also gotten to know some really nice people here and made some friends. And when we go to visit Stockholm, I can meet my dear old friends again. And I also have social media, which is a big help for keeping in touch with friends and family. So, I love my new family life in the tiny little village without alcohol, and I also sometimes miss my very entertaining old life apart from the anxiety and embarrassment. But I think I have progressed, and I am very proud of myself for quitting drinking alcohol and having the courage to start a new life. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you like this video and want to see more of my content, please consider subscribing and leave a thumbs up and a comment. Until next time, take care of yourself. Bye!